Hello, TC Society. So, in previous classes we have talked about something called the microcosmic orbit. And I wanted to take a second to explain the microcosmic orbit. One student asked, they said, what is the microcosmic orbit? And there's no simple answer for that, but there is a simple answer for it. It's in acupuncture, there are lines that run on the body that are considered to be venues for energy to run. And the two primary acupuncture meridians that we learn, the two first ones that we learn, run from the bottom at the base, the perineum, up past the anus, past the tailbone, up the spine, all the way up the neck, over the top of the head, and it goes in, down the nose, down the upper palate, and ends in the back of the upper palate back here. So it starts at the bottom, goes up over the top this way, and down the front. The second channel that we learn is the conception vessel. And this one starts at the back of the tongue, goes out over the tongue, around, down, up over the lip, down the front, and down the bottom, and connects also at the very bottom at the base of the perineum. So in Mandarin, these are called Dumo and Renmo, and that translates as the governing vessel and the conception vessel. So governing, you can think of your spine and your head as the main portion of it, and conception we can think of as the sex organs, or when a woman conceives, there's a child. So we have these two main channels. And why do we call those two channels the microcosmic orbit? Microcosmic orbit, there's two words. Microcosmic is the first one and orbit is the second one. Microcosmic being, it's a picture. In Tai Chi, we look at fractal self-similarity quite a bit. So these two channels are a microcosm. They're fractally self-similar to the rest of the channels in the body. So if these two channels are suffering or deficient in energy, all of the channels will be. We don't have to call it this, but the other word, we said microcosm, describes this fractal self-similarity. An orbit is, we're usually talking about one planet going around another planet, something like this. And this describes the motion. So it's moving, and the energy is moving inside there. And so we can change the speed of that energy, change the amount of that energy through meditation. But it's the idea for the microcosmic orbit is not limited to these invisible lines on the skin, right? My teacher, TC, would say, why can't the energy come from the ground and come all the way up over the head top and go all the way back down, incorporating the whole body? So the concept of the microcosmic orbit can be expanded in many ways, but since there's a question about it, I wanted to address it. You can find this in just about any Qigong acupuncture book. These are the first two meridians that you learn. And this is also one of the most basic Qigong meditations. When you're doing the standing, when you're standing, you want to bring the energy, inhaling up to the top, keep the tongue connected to the upper palate, and then bring the energy down the front. And so, doing this process, if you meditate on those two lines coming up the back and down the front, after some time you can tonify your chi. You can make it stronger. You can make it more stable, more consistent. You don't have to be standing in this type of posture, but you can be. You can use Tai Chi Harmony. You can use any system and any standing. You can do it while you're moving. You can be moving the energy in that circle. So if you had questions on what the microcosmic orbit is, that should answer some of them. And if you still have questions, books are a great resource. Google is a great resource. You can research a lot of this stuff on yourself. And then if you have more questions, you can come back and somebody knows the way. Thanks. Let's start in Tai Chi Harmony, but with the idea that we either not having class today, or it's going to be a very, very short class today. So relax. We're going to do just one exercise, and then we can answer some questions, do a Q&A if you have questions. And that's going to be it for today. So just doing the basic, just breathing. Lift up and then stretch, reach all the way to the top. Reach out to the sides, sink to the bottom. Breathe. And make it a stretch in all directions. Feel like you're stretching your head top away from your feet and your arms away from your body the whole time. Breathing deep. Check to see that you have at least a relaxed expression on your face. It doesn't have to be a smile. It does. It has to be a half smile at the minimum to practice Tai Chi. Go at your own pace. You don't have to time it with my timing. And I'm not counting. But when you practice on your own, you should have some, unless you're going to continue for a while, practice to a number. Did we at least do 8 of them? Did we at least do 10 of them? Something like that. So on your next one, when you reach the top, when you're all stretched out, just allow your arms to go back to the side. Bring your feet together in the center. Calibrate in Tai Chi Harmony. So pull your head top up. Grip your feet. Relax everything in the middle. Connect the tongue to the upper palate. Relax your brow. Open your vision, nostrils. Relax your jaw. Roll your shoulders back. Use the center to support. Tailbone is hiding. Okay, so today is going to be a short class. Does anyone have questions, comments on anything that we're working on with Tai Chi, anything that you're working on at home? Questions about Taoism, Buddhism, Confucianism, questions about Kung Fu? Okay, we're going to do another Qigong to close. Before we do, we have to remember that human beings are part of the natural world. And modern science would have us believe that modern humans are evolved in a way where we're not affected by primitive things like the seasons and whatnot. But humans still connected to the universe. We're still connected to the cycle of sun and moon and the seasons, the pattern of where our Earth travels in the solar system, and also where our solar system travels in the galaxy. So in the winter time, it's good to take a break, rest. In the summertime, when there's lots of energy, there's a lot of vigor. You can feel more chi from the sun. There's more chi in the atmosphere. In the winter time, there's less. So it's okay to take a break. So if y'all have questions, thoughts, comments, ideas, we're gonna just close for today. So let's do the same thing. Sunrise, sunset, facing, doesn't matter which way you face, I'm turning this way for the camera. starting on one side. This is our closing exercise for the day. My apologies for Steve and Aaron. This tape isn't going to go on YouTube. I'm not going to be posting this video this week, so that's why I'm mentioning your names. At some point, change directions. If you'd like to be accurate, you can match on both sides. It's not required. If you do a bunch of them, try to keep all of the same good postural ideas. Keep your tailbone relaxed. Keep your feet activated. Keep your head top pushing up there. The long, relaxed breathing. Tongue connected to the upper palate. Oh man, imagine who's trying to join. Keep working. It's Charlotte. I don't even know what direction I was going. So whatever direction you're going, do 3 more and then close, and then we'll update Charlotte on what's happening. And on your last one, when you get to the center, practice your chi. Practice feeling your arms lightweight, as if the air is supporting them from underneath. And when you finish with all of that, bring everything back to the center. And so for Charlotte, that's actually our closing. we did 2 Qigongs today. You made it just in time. This is going to be a short class. This is one of the wintertime hibernation classes. So I was offering a Q&A. If you have questions about anything that you're working on, anything that we're working on, not necessarily Kung Fu related, Taoism, Buddhism, space weather, anything like that. If you have questions, thoughts, comments, this is a type of Q&A class.
If I have just another minute or 2, I know there are so many questions, I just can't bring them to mind all at once.
All right. Well, this class, I'm not broadcasting this class because I've been saying people's names, and usually I try to keep that to a minimum if it's going to go on YouTube. So you can ask anything, right? It's not going to get, it won't be, it's not going to get put out. I don't plan on publishing.
I have a question in part. Master Yun lent me a book that he's not sure he approves of it. It was written by some guy who, it's called Juice, and it's some guy who's trying to take Tai Chi and distill it down to it's all about energy, electrical power. And this particular individual is really focused on the importance of energy emerging from this point on the wrist, and is actually much less interested in Laogong, that this is the relay station here into energy that might be emerging through your hand, and that the key is to feel it get to this point. Do you have any thoughts on that, opinion about that?
Yeah, and so from here out, I may record a portion of this to put online, but I've heard of the book Juice and the people behind it. I actually had a student that was really into that some years ago, and my problem with it is that Tai Chi is a cultural benefit from China, And I feel like when we remove the white crane, and when we remove the tiger returning from the mountain, or returning the tiger to the mountain, or embracing the moon, we lose something. Because Tai Chi we could essentially break it down into like medical, grip your toes and push your head top and keep the tongue connected to the upper palate, and we lose something from it. But in addition to that, there's something else that happens, which is that's an external part of the Tai Chi. It's the culture from which it originates. We can't study Tai Chi without studying the Chinese culture. But there's another sort of aspect to. I haven't read Juice, so I can't provide you with like the exact analysis. But there are other people that I have studied that trying to systemize Tai Chi in this way. The other thing too is something maybe more effective, right? Like so for instance, this point here on the base of the wrist, I've not heard anyone talking about using that to transmit or receive as an energy point. It may be more effective, but my question for this stuff is the people who created Tai Chi, the people who invented it, did it correctly. And what I mean by that is I do acupuncture on myself every week, and I do acupressure on myself, and I do massage work on other people. And this all sort of coming from a place, coming from the origins. Again, I think going back to the origins, we can strip all of the things out of Tai Chi and call it a scientific process. Is it still Tai Chi? I don't know. Is there still benefit? Yes. Is the Alexander technique Tai Chi? Does it have all the same stuff that Tai Chi does? Close. So I think with Tai Chi teachers, there's a big draw to get the art out there to help people. If you understand Tai Chi, self-improvement, you're improving your body, your mind. There's a big draw to share that. And for me, I'm not a fan of taking the tiger out of the mountain, taking the sort of essence, the root of it. Oh, I know, we were talking about the wrists and the palm point. Pardon me. My discovery is that in studying Tai Chi for many years, studying acupuncture, going to various teachers to say, what is it that you teach? And seeing, okay, these four teaching a system that looks like this one's looking like this looks a little bit different. I know there are other ways to view the acupuncture system, to view the energy body between yoga. I've seen an Indian system from Mexico using the exact same chakras and lines as the yoga system, completely different colors. So if you can find the similarity, we know that that's pericardium meridian, and you can develop different points. But the master's teaching using Lao Gong for a reason, right? This is kind of like anything that you do, that you become very good at, if practice makes perfect. Because let's imagine your energy body like your physical body. Imagine your energy body is something that you can see. If you start growing roots from the wrong part, right? You're going to have something coming from here. When I was doing a type of yoga, type of martial art where I'm using my hands on the ground a lot, you can start getting the chi coming out from different places. For people that can see the chi body, that's very unusual for them to look at, and you may look something strange. But there's a reason the masters tell us to use this point. Is this point a better locus for focusing energy or drawing energy or something? It could be. But for people that had hundreds of years to cultivate this art without television, without a radio, without the kind of distractions that we have today, why didn't they tell us to use this point? So I'm not against innovation. My teacher favored innovation. I think that we don't know everything yet. We can learn more. There may be some reason for this. But I also know many old masters recommending this one. Why not this one? And why don't I see this one mentioned in the Qigong books, right? I know there's points. By the way, for acupuncture, there's not just, they say, okay, here's 1, and here's 2, and here's 3 and 4 right next to each other. There's an unlimited number. And the original doctors that calculate this, the masters that figured this out, they put points just as mile markers on the highway. But there's an unlimited number of points in between there. So perhaps there's many points that not listed in the acupuncture books, very powerful. You can discover them, you can find out what they are. It may not be for everyone. So I recommend when you see something, especially Tai Chi, we have a long tradition. There's a hundreds of years, thousands of years to study where this originated from. And so somebody comes along and says, I have a better point. I'm certain somebody in our lineage has thought about this. So I will agree with Master Yun. I don't know the answer. I haven't read the book. When it comes to things that are classical, I'm interested in the tradition. And I am interested in innovation. That's how things improve. That's how things change. So, read the book.
Maybe someday, I mean, the thing is, I at several points, I almost, it was Master Yun's book, so I almost returned it to him. I want to say I almost threw it away because I was really, the guy is arrogant and irritating. But there are moments where he, I think, is able to distill things down. He's particularly good when he talks about the incredible importance of achieving this point of alert relaxation. And I think he converts it into metaphor that works for modern culture. And I assume there's a reason that Master Yun himself has not just thrown this book away yet. Like,
Yeah.
So maybe sometime I could just read you the paragraphs that seem to be really relevant, because I've been just flagging those and get your reaction to them. Because this was one point which interested me, but the parts that I thought were valuable had more to do with this issue of the way he manages to frame alert, complete relaxation, which sounds like an oxymoron, but.
Yeah, so I would, you could email me, you could read something. I don't know that this class is the best format for that. I mean, actually, this particular class, because discussion class would be better for it. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely ways to innovate, and one of the important things is with our practice is maintaining some level of purity, is making some separation from what we're doing that we know is the daily practice, and doing the extra thing or the special thing, something like that. And so keeping your sort of, because we could absorb new ideas every day. And when I say keeping your mind and your practice pure, is not blocking things out. We can take in new information, but we should know what the basis is. We should know what the foundation is. And if you know that, then you're at a high enough level where you can explore. If you're doing some Reiki treatment on somebody and you want to use some varying points, right? Because not just this part of the wrist, but you have, if you see these, there's like, if you move your wrist around, if you can see, you got a hole. There's like all these divots here. You can actually get quite a bit of chi, right? So imagine when you grab somebody here, that you're not just locking with this point or this point, but that that you're using all of the chi points, like tentacles, tendrils, to wrap 100 of them, right, in this spot. So, yeah, again, I would be interested to read his book. As far as the writing style, writing is challenging. It's a challenging art form. And arrogance can happen to all of us. Once we reach a certain level, even just basic knowledge can appear as arrogance to somebody that's at a different level. But it's something that, as part of the Kung Fu practice, as part of the Tai Chi practice, remaining humble, remaining open to discovering a new answer is important, is vital. So we can't ever think we have all the answers. And a good Taoist is never throwing away a technique. We had talked about this in this class before one time about some yoga. There's a type of yoga that can be very extreme on the body, and people say don't practice this kind of yoga. But there may be a place for it. There may be a time where we have a particular kind of injury and we can do this. We know of the technique. It's not lost. So we should know of the techniques. But we may not want to cultivate that point. We may know it's there. We may find out later how that creates a type of deformation in our chi body. So we want to cultivate the point that we find in the Tai Chi classics that the old master is talking about. And then once this point's cultivated, when you can send energy here and there, then we can start to explore the other one. So this is just a concept. I'm focusing on this point, but this point is the same for our exercise, right? When we stand, when we sink the tailbone and relax, we heard TC talking about this technique. And then we go to study with Master Sue, and she's talking about this technique. And then we go to study the stick form, and that teacher is talking about this technique. Another teacher comes and they say, make your back like the shape of a turtle, because it's round, like the Volkswagen, like the arch, and people can hit it, they can break a board over it. When it's round, it's powerful. This doesn't match the other teaching, but we don't throw it away. So we should know everything. We should know all the ways. We should know why it's straight and when to make it round. There is a place for it. It's not structurally correct to walk around with our back round like this. But if you know somebody's behind you and they like to hit you, you can inflate your lungs and inflate your diaphragm and puff out your kidneys and round out your back and let it bounce off like the surface of a balloon. But I don't teach that. I teach stand up straight. So many different ways, many different ideas. And I think if we follow the traditional, we look at the Chinese culture from which the Tai Chi and the Qigong originated from, listen, as a Tai Chi teacher, this is a struggle for me to reduce the form, to simplify the form. When was the last time any of us as a group practiced the 155 posture form together? Hasn't happened. Not for 2 years, at least. Have we done all three sections on video in the past 2 years? So it's tempting for me to reduce it to a shortcut, and that's the way the future will ultimately go, is we see from grand books all the way down now, you can't keep someone's attention for a pamphlet or a comic book, right? From large volumes of encyclopedias down to a 3-word blurb. So if we had to do that with our practice, we know the way. We know the minimum is our structure. We know how the chi works, the breathing, the mind, the relaxation. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything more to say about that. Take what you can from it, use it, and the rest of it you can bookmark for a later time. Maybe you study with another master and they tell you something and it clicks because you have ideas for some other things. So that's my advice with that.
If no one else has a question, I have one other.
Okay, go ahead, yes, because everyone else is shot. Go ahead, I'm listening.
The microcosmic orbit, do I understand correctly, the basic reality is it's always circulating. It's just a question of whether we can feel it specifically?
Yes. So this is a little bit of a trick question. The energy is always moving in the meridians, and it's not a matter of whether you can feel it. It's happening anyway. But
If it's happening anyway, why focus on it? Why put the effort into running it particularly?
That's the question we're looking for. So, because it's like, imagine you have a piece of land, and it has like some canals or rivers that run across the surface of the land. And you're not human-sized, you're a giant. And you can look at the waterways and you can see that they're moving. And when you look down on them, if they're moving fairly rapidly, you don't need, or smoothly, and the water's clear and you can see fish inside there, there's no need to work. But if you look down as the giant and you look down on your land, and one of the rivers looks kind of dull and muddy and you don't see any fish, in fact you can see some debris is logged up in there, you can take your giant finger and stir the water in the river and clear it up, clear all the obstruction, and then the water flows and the fish go through. And so the same thing with your chi system. This is a lot of times young people not coming to Tai Chi. Why? Because they have energy. They want kung fu. They want to do something fast and dynamic. But old people, we have more time on our hands. We're not as interested in that, right? And so the same thing, our energy can become deficient. And unfortunately, some people wait until the energy is blocked over 30 years and the river is gone, like an oxbow lake, the kind that closes up around a turn, cannot be reopened. But with the right massage, the right kind of Tao Yin, the right kind of yoga, we can stretch to open that up. So why do we focus on it? You're the maintainer of like the giant that can maintain his garden with the rivers, you maintain it. And so if you like to have a party at your place and the river's all there, you can stir all of them very fast and make the river go, right? The river analogy will break down at some point because we can't talk about having chi coming up out of the rivers and creating light and all kinds of other things. You can use your imagination, but think of it like either as cleaning something. Clean the river out, we put our mind, where your mind goes, the chi follows. That's why we shouldn't waste any time worrying about anything, because your chi is following that worry. The other thing is to strengthen it. You may see a river has become small, and so you take your giant gardening fingers and open the river more. Or you may put something into it. You may want to put more energy into that channel, or add a special type of energy during the holiday. For your holiday party, you may want to dye your rivers green for St. Patrick's Day, right, when they drink the green beer or something like this. So why concentrate on it? Not needed. Same thing as Tai Chi. Why concentrate on connecting the tongue to the upper palate? Babies do it naturally. It's only after we forget, only after we start having some other things happening to the mind. Same thing with the head top. If you stand, your body tries to grow naturally with nature. If you stand for a long time, it will line itself up. So why do it? Only if we need it. We only practice, why do something if we don't need it? So go ahead, yes, I see. Yeah.
Dr. Young talks about in his book that sometimes you can you deliberately might reverse the microcosmic orbit and have it go backwards instead of forwards. When and why would you want to do that if the natural tendency is in this direction?
Okay, so I actually haven't read that part of his book, and I don't recommend reversing the channels because, again, Dr. Yang is big. He's a big master, right? He knows a lot of stuff, and the reason I recommend his stuff is because of his purity. He's going to temples and places in China to try to find the original Qigong documents, and his books, he translates the document, and then he gives his Chinese rendition of the document, and then he gives an explanation in English of what he thinks it means, or what his translation of it is, and then what he thinks it means. And so very, very powerful, has a lot of knowledge. I don't recommend reversing it. Why would you do it? My guess for doing that is if you have like tons of energy and you know the technique that you're doing, then I could see doing some kind of reversing. When I was within my first couple of months, I was practicing Tai Chi, and one morning I was practicing a lot of Tai Chi and had a whole bunch of energy, and talked to my teacher. I said, what do I do if I have too much energy? And there's technique for throwing chi away. There's technique you can, for more experienced practitioners, you just jet it out of points. You can just get rid of it. But there's qigong actually to get rid of excess chi. So reversing the microcosmic orbit, I wouldn't recommend. But if you have the book, if you have the understanding, you may practice that, try that on your own. By the way, my concept of the microcosmic orbit is this wheel turning. And in Dr. Yang's books, actually he doesn't talk about that. There's another master that writes about that. Claims that one of the reasons we have balding, one of the reasons we lose vision and hearing and have problems at the base is because that cycle starts running backwards. Right, so like we talked earlier, like a waterfall that comes up, it sends the energy down the face, eyes, nose, teeth and tongue, and down to the dantian. And then as we age, by the time we reach middle age, that cycle starts to reverse. And that's why we start to have problems with the teeth and the vision, and the hairline starts to go backwards, and the coloration on the hair starts down here and starts to discolor going this way. And energy sinking down and getting stuck down here creates a secretory spread and hemorrhoids and all kinds of different problems with the reproductive organs and stuff. So my understanding of it is we want to be youthful, is to have that energy coming up over the top and back down the front. I can, again, as a Taoist, I see the yin and yang, and we don't want to throw anything out. There is a way to reverse it. There's a purpose to do it. I don't know the answer to that. And I also don't recommend it unless you do. So that's my thoughts on that.
I tried that once just because the thing is, I hesitate to run the microcosmic orbit consciously, because when I was trying that after reading his books, I had a couple of episodes where it was just running so fast, it was like being on a hamster wheel. It was just, and so I actually tried to run it backwards to slow that down, and it scared me off of the whole thing. It's like, wow, this stuff is kind of wild when you start to...
Yeah, so it's like with anything, baby steps. You have to practice a sort of, if you're getting something where things are out of control, you need to like take a step back. And when it is out of control, means we've gone away from Tai Chi. Because in Tai Chi, we're looking to, if the barrier is here, we want to get right up to the barrier and look over without putting our feet over the line, right? So sometimes it happens. I used to ride motorcycles for many, many years of my life, several decades. And one of the goals for riding motorcycles very fast is to try to find what they refer to as the edge of the bike, meaning how fast can it go? How much braking can it do? And sometimes doing that, you create a wreck. You have a type of accident. So this can make you feel not good, but more than likely, you're not going to hurt yourself. This may create a bad feeling or give you anxiety, or you may have like this type of crackhead power to clean all your dishes in 5 minutes or something like that. You can have that, but our goal should be more scientific. We should be able to edge up to the line and sort of look over and feel that power without having to go into the crackhead mode. So, by the way, I keep looking over here because my speakers and my computer setup is over here. I used to have it set up right behind my camera, and it's a little bit different now. So when I look over here, I'm not trying to be like Joe Cool, like not looking at the camera or something, but that's where my configuration is for this stuff. So, Yeah, so reversing it, the same thing. This should all be done scientifically. This is your body that we're talking about. So if you do something like reversing it, try to make sure it's at the best time that you can. I know when we get excited, when we get anxious, we want to control the energy right away. And so we just have to be careful. If you do reverse it, try it for, 5 or 50 cycles or something, and then take a break and make note of your reaction. So, by the way, a note about the microcosmic orbit and the acupuncture meridians, there's no set speed. And so you can make the microcosmic orbit go as fast as you can imagine. The same thing with the energy in your meridians. And you don't need to know where those lines are. You can starting with the microcosmic orbit, you can literally accelerate the chi in your body. You can do this before if you have to do some type of activity. Lift up something very heavy, right? If you need to pick up some huge thing and carry it some distance, right? If you going to do some training for martial arts, whatever it is, you can pump that energy up. You can take that excited energy and use it for the current task. And especially with self-defense, if you get into a situation where you need to defend yourself against something or someone, that when that adrenaline starts pumping, having the presence, the Tai Chi mind to say, okay, this energy is coming up, I'm going to distribute it throughout the body evenly and keep a tap ready at the dantian to focus it there, whatever, and then your body is ready to do what it needs to do.
Last question. Oh, wait a minute.
I'm listening. I'm actually looking at my screen right now. Yeah.
Wouldn't I get the idea that you can change the pace, but there isn't some kind of like natural linkage between the general background speed and some other bodily rhythm, like the rhythm of the heart or of breathing. There isn't some kind of linkage unless you deliberately separate the two?
I don't know the answer to that question. To me, it's a little bit more mysterious than that. I don't think that it's directly connected, but I think that you could line it up. It's sort of like I don't know of another involuntary function that you can like if you. I'm trying to think of something. It's kind of humorous, like lining up your breathing with your heart rate. You could, but it's not required. And there could be some type of benefit, but I don't know what that is.
That sounds like pranayama.
What's that?
Sounds like pranayama.
Pranayama. Pranayama is actually qigong. So prana is the word that they're using for chi, and yama is like their description of the yoga. So pranayama is literally qigong. So when we do qigong, we're doing pranayama. It's the same as reiki. Ki is the Japanese word for the Chinese word qi. And the rei part, I don't know what that word means, but reiki is qigong, is pranayama, is. In Star Wars, they call it use the force, Luke, right? This magical, invisible field that we know that exists. We don't know so much how to describe it, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm sorry. What's the question again? I got distracted.
It was just about whether or not there tended to be some natural linkage between the pace of, say, the microcosmic orbit and breathing or something else. Because you know that beautiful ancient depiction of the wheel with the
garden and the cows.
Yeah, and that fire that fuels the steam and all of that. That seems like that's implying that this circulatory pathway must have some linkage to these other processes.
Well, I mean, I think it's okay. It's connected in this way. This much should be obvious: is that if you run your microcosmic orbit super fast, the other things are also going to follow suit. So that state that you get in when the energy's moving that fast it's going, if you stay in that state, it's going to raise your heart rate. It's going to give you more energy. And that may not be a good thing. That can be like, if you know anything about computer processing, there's something called overclocking, which is running more voltage through the processor to make it go faster. So we can do this, and there's actually kung fu meditation techniques to start to draw on this. There's meditation that I can teach you that will get your chi super hyper if you need to do something right away. But this is detrimental to the body. The 5 to 10 minutes you get out of performance gain, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 months you take off of your life. The same thing with when we talk about anything in the modern world. We talked about computers with overclocking. The same people with fast car like to do the same thing, put in more fuel and more air, put a turbocharger, supercharger on it. But the problem is the engine only lasting 1 year. If you put a supercharger on the engine, you have to rebuild it once a year. For a racing car, they rebuild it after every race. So for us, human is a special time. Being a human in the wheel of all the life is a special time, because human is the only time you can escape from the wheel. It's the only time we can achieve enlightenment. And in that case of going off, we don't want to burn off our equipment. We don't want to burn out our equipment. So unless you're a specialist, and there's some people like that, they want to cultivate a certain thing, and you know how to escape being recycled by burning off all your energy and letting your engine die, you can be a scientist. Once you reach the level where you don't need to return, you can experiment with all types of things. I don't recommend teaching that to other people unless they have the level where they don't have to return. So if they destroy their body, they're not having some spiritual consequence from that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Thoughts, questions, comments, ideas, anything else? Let's actually do just one round of Tai Chi before we go, right? Just the first section, just something to say that we've done some practice. It doesn't even look like I'm on screen. Let me see if I can move this a little bit. Might be a weird angle. Let's see. Yeah, something. All right, bring your head top up to the highest point. Relax your tailbone. Breathing deep, bring your hands together in the center. Connect your tongue to the upper palate and lift the base of your torso, lift the bottom. Opening shoulder width wide, root your tailbone. And if you're practicing chi, let your chi body do the movement. Grasp the sparrow's tail. Let your physical body ride on the energy of the chi body. It's floating in space in the same place where your energy is. And see if you can expand that feeling of floating. Look left, glance right, double press. Horizontal, split hands. Forget your body. Let it float in your cloud of chi. even though your body's floating, it feels so light. You should feel directly connected to the ground, as if the bottoms of your feet melting into the earth, one piece. So it's a yin-yang. As light as you feel, the bottom is connected firmly to the earth. Roof home. Stay round, stay inflated. Press. Press. Embrace tiger. Return to mountain. Block. Punch right and left. Bring everything back to the center. Okay. Questions, thoughts, comments, ideas? By the way, daily practice is critical. If I know that some of you working with other teachers, and if you don't have a routine, you should have one. And by the way, 5 minutes a day, every day, is better than 1 hour a week. So if you're just relying on Saturday mornings, this is not just for people in this class, there's people watching at home. You should practice at least 5 minutes a day in the morning when you wake up. Practice stretching, do some of the qigong, even if you can't remember, practice some X-stepping. Because those 5 minutes every day, little by little, is like writing a book. You have to stay at it to practice.
Brian, would you be up to planning some time where those people who want to could do all three sections with you? Because it's been a long time. I would love to go through all of them.
I would like to do, there's somebody here that can maybe help me work on teaching the form, like the meaning of grasp the sparrow's tail, ward off, that kind of thing. And so that's something that is sort of in the works. And yes, the question is finding a time that works for the right people that need the later sections. So maybe if I start an email chain with the people that are in this class that we can see, I may rebroadcast this class later. By the way, you guys you see it's usually just my camera. And I'll just beep out the parts where we're using names or any personal information, something like that, because this is an informative class. But we need to get a time when the people that are here, plus Mark and whoever else can attend. And I'm actually getting the warning that it's 10 minutes till class. So yes, I want to do that. Let's figure out.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, maybe after the new year, because we're coming up on a time where it's going to get busy with work and then nothing, and so maybe for the new year I can try to get something on the schedule for it. So let's do just a little bit more qigong to close, breathing. Longest, deepest breaths of the day, reaching, and then compress the chi into your center. So breathing, expand, everything opening. And then the same thing that my hands are doing, I'm compressing that energy into the center. And then when I inhale, everything's open. And when I exhale, when you do that compression, we don't want to give ourselves problem in the back or hernia, something like this. Not too much flexing. We're not trying to be the Hulk or Hercules, but the packing, the compression of the chi is almost more of a mental idea, and the abs are just sort of assisting. They're just sort of helping on their own. So wherever you're at with these, do 2 more. And the intention is to take this type of breathing, the type of feeling that we practice when we practice Tai Chi, and to take all the knowledge with us throughout the week and use it for our own benefit and the benefit for other people, to have the energy, to have the relaxation, and to have the answers, to have the right idea, because our mind is clear and they come to us with seemingly complex problem. But it's actually very easy when your mind is clear. It looks like magic. And wherever you're at, make the next one your last one. So full inhale, relaxed exhale, but we're packing that chi at our center. And then bring the feet together in the center, bring the hands together. Am I centered on the screen? I don't know, I can't tell. That's it for the day. Practice, meditate. No replacement for practice. The only replacement for practice is meditation, which is also your practice as well. So have a great week. Call, text, write if you have questions.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Great class.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. So in addition to this, when we start talking about things like the chi emerging from sort of non-standard points, there's no rules or regulations to what's possible with this type of cultivation. So I know of a kung fu legend of one master who cultivated his chi in such a way and started to access the points that we had talked about, growing chi from this point. And there's an attach point for a second thumb here where you can grow chi, and for extra chi tentacle fingers coming off the back and the side, and from the mirror point on the other side of this. So if you can imagine a tree root type system coming off of each hand, and the same thing for the foot, right? Like, so where the ankle is like tree roots that growing above the ground to connect into to create a stronger base. And this master was obsessed with martial arts and grew this type of, from his foot, right, this type of rooting, and from his hands, so he could connect to the ground, and when he grabbed something was super powerful. And he went around defeating other martial artists in grappling contests, and by rooting himself and having this kind of chi. And he was had a yogi, someone that he also studied yoga with, very high level, coming right from some of the highest levels of Maha Yoga in India. And when the teacher saw him after some time, he looked at his wrists and his hands, and he looked at his ankles where he had made this sort of strange chi configuration. And the yogi said, "Oh, that's unfortunate," as if looking at a physical deformity. So we have to understand there's a reason that the teachers, that the masters teaching the points that they teach, these are sort of considered the natural, normal points. There is a way, there is a reason for us to cultivate those other points at certain times. Perhaps a gardener, perhaps somebody working with the ground in such a way, or if somebody is in law enforcement or military or personal defense for life, they may not mind cultivating something interesting. So be aware that changing, modifying your chi form, your chi field, can have repercussions that maybe at this level, people trying to westernize the Tai Chi, they can't see. But when you look at the highest levels, the high level yogi can look and see what's happening. And again, that's okay, but we have to ask ourselves why and for what reason. If it's just to cultivate the highest level Kung Fu, perhaps that's somebody's goal. And I want to conclude this sort of topic when we talk about, anytime we talk about removing something from Tai Chi or adding something to Tai Chi, we're forgetting some concept from the past, right? Some idea that yesterday I talked about the Chinese culture. We can't take the crane or the tiger out of Tai Chi, or it becomes something else, becomes something not Tai Chi. So perhaps some modernization, some westernization of Tai Chi is legitimate for fitness purposes, but it's not Tai Chi. So at the end of the day, whatever we can write in books, whatever we can practice, we have to remember Tai Chi on some level is a mystical art. And so no matter what's written in black or white, or if we can demonstrate in a scientific lab about where the chi is coming from, or demonstrate that with acts of Kung Fu, something like that, at some level it's beyond understanding. So don't get too hung up on details. Know that there's a variety of things that we can do with our chi, and then go back to the Tao and ask yourself, what is the important thing that I need to be doing with my chi? Why do I cultivate Tai Chi? Why am I cultivating this? And the joke that I always like to use is, what is it to clean up on long-term high-yield investments so that you can laugh at the funeral of your enemies? Is that the reason we're cultivating Tai Chi? No, it's so that we can improve our karma. It's so that we can improve our spiritual being. I talk in my class a lot of times about the physical body. I talk a lot about body being. I talk about your chi body. There's another one that we don't talk about very much, I don't talk about it very much, is the spiritual body. And so when the physical body is healthy, we can have a very strong chi body. And what that means is that the onion skin going deeper, our spiritual body can be very upright. So that's the purpose of the training. It's not to have boxing, but we have to know how to defend ourselves, to be upright around many, many people who they have not cultivated their spirit, they have not cultivated their chi. Some people are inspired by this, but other people don't like it. So we have to be able to defend ourselves at the basic. But then at the ultimate is for the spirits, for the karma, something to improve your life at the top level. So think about that, where the chi comes from, maybe not as important as what we're doing with our day-to-day life. So